Tori and Dan, Baltimore's live and local afternoon show. WBAL News Radio 1090, FM 101.5, and the WBAL radio app.
All right, it's not a conversation about drugs and the surveillance state.
We might get to that,
Libertarian.
though.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, no. Spike Cohen, he joins us now, and Spike's been on the program before. If you don't recognize his name or it sounds a little familiar, it's because he ran as he was on the ticket for vice president in the last election, not the most recent, but
2020.
Yeah, 2020. He was the vice presidential candidate for the Libertarian Party. Spike
Joe
Cohen.
Jorgensen, right?
Yes, thanks for joining us, Spike. How have things been in Libertarian land? Are you guys doing all right over there? You've been kind of quiet in the news cycle.
Well, unfortunately, that's what happens is we get kind of shut out in the news cycle very often. But we right now are at the highest number of elected officials we've ever had. We have hundreds of elected officials across the country. And our goal is to continue building on that to show people that not only can Libertarians win, but when Libertarians win, they win too for a change. It's not just about which team won. It's about the American people winning for a change as well.
There's I don't know if it's a branch of the National Libertarian Party or something else, an offshoot. The Libertarian Party of New Hampshire, they've gotten in a lot of trouble for some very controversial tweets. Do you know anything about that?
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, each state affiliate is in charge of their own social media.
Okay.
And some are more kind of down the line with how they do it, and some of them are more controversial. I mean, the one thing I will say is I don't necessarily approve of every single thing that every single affiliate puts out there, but each one of them is having various levels of success, bringing people with different types of messaging. And if New Hampshire has found that they can reach a certain group with their kind of messaging, then, good for them.
All right, so the reason we wanted to invite you on to discuss and Spike was Dan and I had a conversation, and I'll just be straight up honest, I was destroyed in this discussion, but I figured maybe you could bring a few more heavy guns to the discussion. And it has to do with a policy that is being proposed in New York. And there are grocers that are desperately trying to keep their stuff from being lifted and carried out of their stores. And so they're using facial recognition. City Council is trying to prohibit stores from using facial recognition technology without consent. And for me, just the libertarian instinct in me, I couldn't really put my finger on why, but it just felt like it's not a great idea to have the government, I don't know. It felt like just a bad idea to just make it super murky around biometric data. What are your thoughts on the use of facial recognition in the private sector and even the public sector with police cams and such?
Right. So first of all, as long as they are letting the public know that it's, and when I say the public, the customers, the people coming onto their property know that they're being surveilled, then I don't see any problem with it, provided that they are aware of that. If you're you're getting people's information, or you are, you have cameras on them, and there isn't at least a notice making them aware of that. Well, now you're getting into a privacy rights issue, or at least you're getting into some murky territory. But especially considering the fact that it's being used because these companies are coming together, these essentially small businesses for the most part, coming together and creating a local database of known shoplifters, there's no real problem. I see no problem with that. And especially when you consider the reason that New York City is doing this ban is because the owner of Madison Square Garden, who pays $0 in taxes, so he's basically operating a government chartered business that he makes millions of dollars from, that is worth billions of dollars. He was using private surveillance to keep out his opponents, people he didn't like, people who said negative things about him on what is essentially public property. So instead of reprimanding him for that because he's so powerful, they push instead for this blanket requirement that that any private business has to get written approval from every single person coming in to be able to have their face recognized. I think it's absurd. And if they have a problem with what the Madison Square Garden owner is doing, which I think they should, then they should address that and leave these small businesses alone that are dealing with record high shoplifting very often, including in New York, because the DAs and the people in charge of law enforcement aren't allowing allowing the police to do anything about it.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. I 100% agree with you, Spike. Let's talk drugs. We're about to legalize marijuana. It's about to become.
Let's talk drug policy.
Okay, fine. We can talk both. They're about to legalize marijuana in the state of Maryland. It's going to happen on not this coming Saturday, but next Saturday. And I think the question we both have is what's next? Is this going to be a slippery slope? Not necessarily slippery if you believe in the legalization of drugs like I do, but is this going to turn into more than that eventually? Are we eventually going to be legalizing things like mushrooms and cocaine and maybe heroin? Is that the path we are on?
Well, if they did it the right way, then the public would see the benefit of no longer treating medical issues like criminal issues and allowing people to be able to access things like psychedelics and like cannabis, which have a lot of medicinal purposes. Mm-hmm. And if nothing else, have a recreational purpose that is far safer than alcohol is. I suspect because it's being done by government, they're going to do it the absolute worst way possible. They're going to require ridiculous licensure requirements, which means that there's still going to be a huge black market because the barrier to entry, the cost of entry to do it legally is going to be ridiculously high. So you're still going to have the black market. You're also going to have it harder to crack down on the black market because now there's a legal market. There's not going to be any kind of decrease in gang violence. Any of the good things that come with legalizing drugs or decriminalizing drugs won't come about because they'll do it the worst way possible. And so the public will say, well, why did we do this? The things we were promised would happen didn't happen. Maybe we should go back to banning it, or we certainly shouldn't look at expanding it. This is how government does things. They'll also usually couple it with decriminalization or deprioritization of what they call petty crimes like simple theft, simple assault, shoplifting, and things like that. So the public associates ending the war on drugs, or at least scaling back the war on drugs, with allowing people to shoplift or loiter or to, punch people as long as it was a simple assault, not with a weapon or something.
Kind of what happened here in Baltimore.
But hurting yourself is different than hurting someone else, right?
No, but and that's the thing. But the problem is they very often couple these things together. So if the public's already skeptical of this stuff and they see, legalized cannabis didn't get rid of the drug gangs because of the licensure requirements being so high, but then also we're seeing an increase in shoplifting for something that has nothing to do with cannabis, they often associate it with that. We saw that in California. We've seen that in Oregon when they decriminalized all drugs, because they also did these other things that had nothing to do with drugs, but they did it directly with it. They called it part of justice reform. And the public said, we hate this. We don't like this at all. We want it to be illegal again. So like I said, government does everything terribly, so I fully expect them to screw this up.
No surprises at all. Speaking with Spike Cohen, former VP candidate for the Libertarian Party, what is the Libertarian stance, or how are Libertarians positioning themselves with the evolving discussions around AI and technology, big tech, things like that? And actually, do you guys have anyone that's on the radar for the presidential race?
Well, we're still, that contest is still happening. It's still up in the air who's going to be the nominee. That'll be up to the delegates. The official decision will happen next May, but we'll start seeing
who are the names we should be watching
runners in the coming months.
I was going to say, who are the names we should watch? Are we going to see Gary Johnson again? Joe, she coming back? What are you thinking?
I doubt Joe will come back. I doubt Gary will come back. I have not made any decisions for myself. Currently, there are 4 declared candidates that I know of: Chase Oliver, Lars Mapstead, Mike Termott, and Jacob Hornberger. Any of them would be a drastic improvement to what we've seen from Republicans and Democrats. But we'll see. We'll see who else gets into the race, and in fact, if I am one of them. When it comes to AI, my general take on AI is that this is happening very quickly, that something is being created that inside of our time could easily become immeasurably more intelligent than us. And it is hard to fathom what a society would look like where human beings not only are no longer the prime species in terms of intelligence, but where the gap between us and the thing that has overtaken us is the same as the gap between us and an insect or a single-celled organism.
It's really Terminator, right?
But what society's going to look
Spike,
like there. I will say this.
Spike,
anytime that I'm seeing the main actors in AI calling for more government regulation, I literally shudder, because I think of, that's like the last thing that I want to see happen. But this is happening happening very, very quickly. And we're for better or worse, we're going to be in the same way that electricity completely transforms society. I suspect that AI will transform society even more.
But just to clarify, you are not calling for more government regulation when it comes to AI.
No. Government regulation is the way to ensure that only the bad things happen.
Okay.
Just with AI, just in general.
All right.
A true libertarian through this. Spike,
is.
thanks for taking time out of your schedule to join us.
The only real one, yeah.
I do hope that we'll see your name on the ballot. Throw your hat in the ring, and it'll be really interesting. The Libertarians do need more of a voice because it's getting pretty spooky out there. Thanks a lot, man. Thanks for joining our program.
I appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
All right, Spike Cohen, former VP Libertarian. He's always so much fun.
Interesting stuff.
Great.
Got a very, very unique perspective on things.